Hello, and welcome to DronCon T. This week, I'm making the first part in a new series of videos exploring and explaining the basic techniques of miniature painting. In this first episode, I'm going to explain the 3 ways I prime my miniatures. Priming is an important first step in the painting process. It gives a layer for the other paints to stick to rather than trying to paint details directly onto bare plastic, where they're likely to rub off while you're painting or when playing with your models. Spray priming. Spray paint is a great way to quickly and easily prime a lot of models really fast. As you can see here, I've built my models and now I'm going to attach them to this bit of card using blue tack, or in my case white tack. Anything that's long enough to hold 4 or 5 models will do for this. A lot of people use a spare bit of wood they have laying around. Spray primers come in many colours. I'm using black for these ones as I often prime my models black, but grey is becoming more and more popular as a neutral colour for priming. Also, many brands make spray primers, such as the Army Painter. Really, any plastic primer will do the job. Once you're outside, shake the can well. You want to give it a good couple of minutes of shaking to make sure that all the paint is really well mixed with the propellant, otherwise it will come out lumpy and won't give an even coverage. After the can is well mixed, hold the models about an arm's length away from the can. The real trick to spray priming is to keep the can moving as soon as you press the button to begin spraying, moving the can in a sweeping motion from side to side. At first it will take a while for the primer to start to show on the models, but after a couple of passes you'll see the paint start to cover the model. After a couple of passes of the minis, turn the stick around and prime them from another direction. Once you've finished spraying, turn the can upside down and give it a spray until it comes out clear. This will clean out the nozzle of the can and stop paint drying in there. As you can see, a spray can gives a really nice, even prime to a model really quickly, without clogging up any of the detail. Spray priming is ideal for priming a whole squad of troops in one go, so you can paint them all at once. Spray priming is my preferred method of priming, but if you live in England, you shouldn't prime in the rain. It will make the paint bubble on the mini and this will look awful. These bubbles will still be visible even after painting the model. So when the weather is bad, as it so often is here, there are a couple of other ways to prime a mini. Brush on primer. I often use this. Surface Primer by Vallejo. It's great when you can't get out to spray, or if you're just doing a single model and don't want to dig out the spray cans and go outside. With this surface primer, I pour some out onto my dry palette. You don't need to thin it with water, but by using a palette I can control how much I have on my brush so I don't overload it. Using an old brush, as this will ruin your best brushes, simply apply the surface primer all over the model. Work it into any recesses and ensure you've covered all of the model in a coat of the primer. Keep an eye out and make sure that it isn't pooling anywhere. If you do notice it start to pool, just move it away with your brush, and this way it won't obscure any of the detail. For most models, a single coat of this is all you'll need. It will cover plastic really well and shouldn't leave any plastic showing underneath. If you do have some areas of bare plastic, you can come in with a second coat if needed, but normally just one is all you need. Once you've covered all of the model, leave it to dry for a few hours, preferably overnight, and you can see it gives a nice, even, matte finish all over the model, with very similar results to the spray primer. But if you don't have any surface primer, or want to prime in a different colour, there is one more method I sometimes use. Priming with paint. You can prime with any base paint. I'm using Corax White here for a white prime. This method is the slowest of the priming methods, but if you're just starting out and don't have any rattle cans or surface primer, using a base paint works. Take some of the paint and add it to a palette, wet or dry, it doesn't matter. Thin the paint down with just a little bit of water so it runs nice and smoothly off of your brush. And then start painting all over the miniature. Make sure you cover all of the model with the paint, really working it into any recesses of the model. By having the paint nice and thin, we can build up a couple of layers without obscuring any of the detail on the model. This method will take a few layers to build up a good solid layer all over the plastic, but if you are painting something like Space Marines, you can prime it in the colour of the power armour, so your main colour and prime are done in one step. As you can see, after the first layer, there is still a lot of plastic showing through. Make sure that the first layer is completely dry before coming and applying a second layer. For the second layer, come in again and cover the entire model with another layer of paint. It can take 2, 3 or even 4 layers to build up that solid coat all over the model, but just keep letting the previous layer fully dry before you come in with another layer and build them up until you have a solid coat of your chosen colour all over the miniature with no plastic showing through. After a few layers, I've built up a solid coat all over the model, and now it's ready for me to start painting the miniature. And those are the 3 methods I use to prime my minis. You can see they have all given an even coat for the rest of my paints to be applied to. We have the rattle can, surface primer, and paint. Make sure to join me next week where I'll be using these models and showing you some different methods for quickly and easily painting fur on models. Thank you very much for watching. Please let me know in the comments down below what painting basics or techniques would you like to see me explain. And please don't forget to like and subscribe, and happy painting!